5, 4, 3, 2, none. All right, looks like we're live. Okay, so I'm Digital Cash Dev, also AJ, also cool AJ86. Anyway, so I'm going to show you very quickly, within a matter of seconds, how to get a full Dash node setup. Now, the sync is going to take 30 hours or so. We're going to go through the VPS creation and just get it going. So I'm going to use DigitalOcean because it's easy. So give me just a second here to get the, I don't really want that like that. Okay. So I'm going to go create Droplet. I'm just signing my account. I put in my credit card, whatever. Create an account. I'm going to create one that's near me. So we're going to pick San Francisco. I'm going to pick the cheapest thing pretty much. Ubuntu, the latest version of Ubuntu, Debian, Fedora. Most of it should work. I'm going to say stick with Ubuntu. Stick with Ubuntu, whatever the LTS is. So we should actually be sticking with that one. That's LTS. Now we're going to look at what do we need. We don't need premium. You're not really going to get much more for premium for this type of workload. We need to have something that has at least 4 gigs of RAM, and we need to have at least 2 vCPUs. 4 would be better, but we can work with 2. So we're going to go with that. So that's $24 a month for the trimmed down version. And we need block storage. So we're going to add additional storage. You're going to need, the current chain size is closing up on 90 gigabytes. So I would recommend going something like 120 gigabytes or 150 gigabytes, depending on how long you want to last for, how many years out you want it to just be able to sit there. If you wanted to be able to just sit there for several years, go 150. That should work for you. And then I am going to go ahead. We don't need backups on this because, you know, blockchain and all that. I'm going to log in with an SSH key rather than a password. In order to create an SSH key, actually, let me show you that real quick. So we're going to do SSH pub key, I think is what it is there. Yeah. So you can copy this, or just copy it the normal way. Go into your terminal, paste it in. It's going to either find or copy your SSH pub key. Now, in this case, it's printing out some additional information because it's something I have on my machine. It's basically debug information, so don't worry about that. But this is what the pub key looks like. It can be longer sometimes. Sometimes it's a big block, but that's what it looks like. So I'm going to take that pub key. I'm going to bring that back over here, and I would click new SSH key and add it. I've already added it, so I don't need to do that. Metrics, monitoring, yeah, we'll have that. We don't need a database for this. And we can give it a name. I'm going to call this -D1. What was this? SFO1, something like that. And that's it. That's all we need. So key points are, we need at least 2 vCPUs, preferably 4, but 2 is okay. We need at least 4 gigs of RAM. We can't do it with less than 4 gigs of RAM. And we need to have we want a block volume that is probably close to 150 gigabytes. So if you look at the price of this, and maybe it wouldn't be that bad if we just went to this instead. In fact, I will, because the price difference between these two. No. We're going to do block volume because the script is set up for block volume. So we're going to do block volume. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and click create droplet. So that step is done. So you can do this. You can click those buttons in just a matter of a couple of seconds. So now it's getting set up. I'm going to click on it. We're looking for the IP address. That'll appear momentarily. Boop-a-doop, 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 boop-a-doop. Takes about 30 seconds. So we're still in the warm-up here. Okay, so now the IP address droplet has been created. IP address has appeared. No matter which platform you use, this process is going to be pretty similar. Now we need to, I have a script that's available on webinstall.dev. So I'll put the links to all these. That's SSH add user. And what this does is it creates a user that's suitable for installing services with. So I'm going to do SSH root at, and then we're going to use that IP address. Hold on, I'm going to paste this in as the command to run. Let me go grab that IP address. That was right here. So grabbing the IP address. I'm grabbing the add user command. And SSH root at IP address, and then the command that's going to add the user. So it goes in, makes the home directory, creates the user, sets up the SSH key. All right, now I can go in and I can get access to that machine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to access it as app at. The user it created is called app. That's just de facto standard name for deploying applications and containers and VPSs. Typically, the username is just called app. So there we go. Now we're in the system. We're on -D1. And what I need to do is install -core. Now this is going to install -core from GitHub where it's been published. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in here. And you can see downloading from -pay-releases, download v21.1.1 for Linux. And then it's grabbing some utilities that just make it easier to do some of the things that we need to do. So these are just little scripts. We'll take a look at it in just a second. So now you can see if you want to start the daemon, this is all you got to do. If you want testnet, you do this one. If you want mainnet, you do this one. And if we look, it's already created from a default configuration, a dash.conf under -core dash.conf. All of this information is in the README here. It shows you here's all the files that it's going to create. And then some basic about the usage. You know, so if you need any of the documentation, it's all right there. Very simple for you. So if we look in here, it randomly generates a password, sets it up as the user app, randomly generates a password, sets everything that you'd want to set in order to use this as a full node to be able to use with any of the APIs, the P2P, the RPC, the ZMQ, all of that stuff is set up. It's going to be a full node that's ready to use. So with that, now if all I do is just copy and paste this, prints out and it says, okay, this is how you use it. Give a data directory and whether or not you want testnet. Gives an example of a data directory. So if we look, I have a mounted directory. It's volume SFO 301. What I'm going to do is there's something that I need to do. If I just do this, as it shows here, I just put in my volume -core. It's going to come back and it's going to let me know, hey, that isn't writable. It may not exist. So how do we make that volume? We need to make sure the volume's mounted. The volume's already mounted. We need to make the directory, and we need to make sure that it is writable by the current user. So boom, there we go. Now, if I were to run this again, it's going to work. There's one thing that I personally like to do, which if I wanted to copy this over to another system, if I wanted to copy this over to another system, it'd be nice if it wasn't tied to a particular region by the name. So what I like to do is I'm just going to say, okay, we're going to create a symbolic link. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. And I'm just going to call it a generic name, storage. Oh, of course I got to run sudo with that. There we go. So now, if I look at this, I see both, and now I can use the generic name storage so that if I were to copy this over to another system at some point in the future, it will just work as that name as well. I won't keep this name. So I'm going to change this to say storage. Whoops, that wasn't the one. Let me just hit back up in my history. There it is. So here, I'm going to change this to say storage. All right, and there it goes. It installed the service, it started, and I can check that it's working. So I can run sudo journal control. I actually like to use zfoo, which F is for follow, and then U is for -- unit. So we could actually do it like that. That would be fine. So it created the service called -d, and then boom, there we are. It's syncing. So it's going to take 30 hours to sync, but that's it. I've got my node set up now. So I can go ahead and cancel this. I was just looking at the logs for it. That's it. Now I just wait. It's going to be ready. And again, you can see here, I tried to make the installer very, very simple, to not do too much, just enough to make things easy to use for for the average person. It just gets rid of a little minutia. There's not too much of a big deal here. So you can see the script, all it is, it's got some help, some usage, it checks some flags, and then it tries to make some directories, and then finishes up with calling -d with all of these arguments with specific paths. Sets up the wallet directory. It's just creating the directories and setting everything up so that it can run. It's the same as if you were to follow the documentation guide, except there's some nuanced stuff that you might not know. For example, making sure all the indexes are turned on, making sure you have a randomly generated password, stuff like that. And I could just change this if I want to connect something to it. That's it. So that's the whole thing. You know, if we were to go through that again, click, 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 copy, paste, boom. Got it set up in less than a minute, and then we just wait the 30 hours for it to sync. All right? And with that, and the way that you would know that it's done syncing is it'll eventually get to a point after synchronizing block headers where it goes through 1%, or it's 0.01, 0.02, so on and so forth. And then eventually we get to the point where it'll just be saying accepted new block. And that's how we know that it's done. Also, if we attach the RPCs to it, such as the RPC Explorer, so I can just bring that up. If we were to, this one doesn't actually have the settings yet to set which URL you're using. But if you were to switch the RPC Explorer to use it, then what you would see is that it would give you an error that it's not finished syncing yet. So when that error goes away, then you know that's good. And these are just the headers. The headers sync up to 100% really quickly, and then there's the rest of the stuff. Anyway, so that's all I got for you. Adios. Hope that helps. Leave a comment. Let me know.